So as I was saying, my name is Tatiana Griffin. I'm the Director of Technology and Innovation. This is my third year at Marin Horizon. I think it's such an amazing school. I've worked at Head Royce. I worked at College Prep in Oakland. And I've also worked at public schools. I moved to the Bay Area in 2012. Prior to working in education, I was in the educational technology research space. So I spent about 5 years at Arizona State University with the National Science Foundation Fellowship, researching how technology can be used most effectively in education. So that was super futuristic stuff as well as research, and I get to bring it to my school now. I also am a DJ and musician in the evenings, and my passion is music. My wheelhouse is technology, and I just love this community. So for those of you that are new, welcome. For those of you that are coming back this year for the most untraditional school year I've ever experienced, it's nice to see you again. So, so as you may have seen in the Marin Horizon notices, this was kind of the high level description. So yesterday we did the 2nd through 8th grade orientations, and today is K and 1. And so as I've mentioned in my previous sessions, this is kind of how I'm feeling. This is probably how many of you are feeling, balancing kids, being teachers, having a career, maybe supporting a family, kind of lots of spinning plates. And so there's just a lot that we're balancing now, and it can be a bit overwhelming. But my goal, or one of my goals for this session, is to help you get more to a place like this. So technology can help keep you less stressed and help your kids kind of stay engaged during this remote learning period where we just have about one more day and then we're going to switch into in-person learning for most of you. So on a high level agenda, hopefully you've got your kids' iPad, so you'll be the student and kind of do what they would do. We're going to talk about Seesaw. For those of you that were here in kindergarten, talk about a little bit how it's different from last year, but how it's actually quite similar. I'm going to talk about safety, some things we're doing behind the scenes to keep your kiddos safe when they're using those iPads, and then some basic home troubleshooting like internet access, how to print from the iPads, and things like that. Now, I will preface this presentation. I had prepared it for kind of our distance learning and eventual hybrid. And from what it sounds like, for the most part, at least for the first few weeks, the first grade teachers are planning on having the devices live at school. So really a lot of their technology use when it does happen will happen during the school day, and the work that they're sending home will be less tech oriented and more kind of hands-on worksheets and handouts and things of that nature. Julia can share more, of course, in the coming week. So let's be the student. We're going to look at devices, navigation, and logins. We're going to look at the student view. We're going to take a look at, or at least get a preview of the parent app. I don't think we're going to do a homework challenge today, but I encourage you to peek into Seesaw if you haven't. Talk a little bit about some of the filtering we're doing, although it really doesn't quite apply to K in first grade, but I think it helps parents kind of take a breath of slight relief. And then just some basic home troubleshooting, like I said, connecting printers, internet signal, Zoom tips and tricks, and some basic computer issues that might come up. So let's begin with being the student. So first of all, this is the device. We got new iPads this year. So those of you that are here last year, we had the older iPads that we were using. We have brand new iPad Airs, 3rd generation. And each of the kids, when they got their devices sent home, got a laptop, an iPad with a case. It's called a gumdrop case, very durable. Hopefully they haven't dropped their devices, but if they did, these are designed to protect them. Each kid should have gotten a headset or headphones as well as a stylus. Just to go over a couple of things. So the speakers are located on the top and bottom of these guys. There's a microphone, I guess, on the top, and then there's a camera on either side. And for the most part, the main thing that I might just want to point out that kids use often is the volume. We want to make sure that volume isn't too loud or too soft, but just think of it as a giant iPhone. Any questions on this? Pretty straightforward if you've used an iPad before. Just know this is the newest model, so we're very excited. Now, one of the other things you may have noticed, and Julia may have pointed out, is I figured out a way where you could basically tap on a picture of a teacher and it automatically loads their Zoom with a couple of button presses. Have people seen this? in action. Yeah. So hopefully that works. I know that Julia had the kids practice tapping through. The other thing that I added that I'm not sure if it appeared, I'm pretty sure it did. There should be an icon with the Marin Horizon logo that's also on the iPad that's supposed to take you to the first grade distance learning site. Does anybody see that on the iPad? Does that appear? Rachel, you're nodding your head and I see the iPhone.
Yes.
Okay, great. And if somebody could just try tapping it for me, let's make sure it works while we're all here. And if someone can give me a thumbs up once they confirm. Awesome. Okay, great. So really this distance learning site is for the kids in some ways, right? But mostly it's really to help the parents help keep the kids kind of on task. And now that we're transitioning to in-person learning, we may not necessarily be using this live daily schedule because they're going to be in class for most of the day. But we may use this site to kind of put, the schedule or share anything that might be relevant. But this was really designed for our remote learning. Hopefully it was helpful. Another thing to note, if you are wanting to print anything that we put here, like whether it's today or in the future, just know that these are essentially Google Docs embedded into a Google site, and you can hover over any of these and click the little square that appears in the top right. It opens things in a new window and creates kind of a printable version of these schedules or docs. So one thing I wanted to mention that's happening kind of behind the scenes is that we have now moved to using Google accounts for K through 8. This helps us streamline things behind the scenes. So if things are working, you may not even realize it. But the way the kids automatically got their iPads and they had the Seesaw app ready to go, or the Zoom was already kind of ready to go, is that we're using the Google button as an all access pass. And so this is just something I'll share with you guys as a slide. This just shows what the Google account is for your child. It's basically their first initial, last name. 2028 represents the year they'll graduate 8th grade, wherever on the planet or on the moon you may be at that time. And then the passwords, I tried to keep it pretty standard. It's just the child's initials. If they have 2 last names, it's just their first last name initial. So I would be TG 2021 ! If I was a kid. And I will leave it there. This isn't really something that you need to know, but if you ever like message me and you're like, oh, I got booted out of the Zoom, and this I guess in the next day, or if you got booted out of Seesaw, this is how we get you back in. And so this we can kind of skim over because it's going to be less relevant. But do you want to take a picture of that, Megan? Happy to. All right. So now some of the apps you may have used already is Zoom, right, to meet with the teachers virtually, Seesaw to kind of get the teachers assignments or videos and then hand things in. Have you guys used iExcel or RazKids yet? Or do you know if the kids have? Yeah. iExcel is really cool. iExcel is kind of cool. It's an adaptive learning platform. So what it does is it like kind of meets the kids where they are. So if they're answering a question and they're getting a lot of things wrong, it'll kind of level them to a kind of the sweet spot. Or if they're getting a lot of questions right, there's like more complex questions in that area. And so we've been using it for math and we're starting to use it for language arts. And I see this as a kind of like healthy food, like an organic food versus junk food version. If you are going to be using tech, I highly encourage that you use something like iExcel. There's another app called Scratch Junior, which is like kind of a block-based coding app for kids that I'll be probably introducing in a couple weeks. But those are just really like, you're welcome to use these even when the iPads live back at school. If you have a device at home, you're welcome to use iExcel, or even, has anybody seen Epic yet? Epic is kind of a read along. You can read books or have audiobooks read to you. It's something that's available during the school day for free for families, and then it turns into a paid option. It's like a library app, but it's really great. Are there any other apps that I'm missing that you guys can think of that maybe Julia has been using with the students? I think that's all of them, but not sure if anyone. There's a lot of apps on the iPads now, by the way, but these are the ones that were really, I think, have been used so far. So now let's talk about Seesaw. And so what I'd like for everyone to do is go ahead and see if you can find Seesaw on the iPad. If you're not an iPhone user, you can put your finger kind of on the middle of the iPad and swipe down, and a search option appears, but you're basically looking for this little bow tie looking symbol. And if you were in kindergarten last year, you may be familiar with Seesaw, but it's changed slightly this year. And I'm going to skip this and encourage you to watch it. But essentially, during the remote learning period, we just use the Seesaw Classroom app, which kind of looks like this. I took screenshots of 3rd grade, but if you tap on the top left screen where your child's name is, you're now going to notice that there's not just one Seesaw class. There's actually one class per subject, including specialists. And this is because last year, once the feedback from teachers was that all the teachers were kind of getting the alerts for every single thing that a child posted, whether it was for art or PE or, you know, Spanish or whatever. And so we decided that it might make sense to have different containers for different subjects. And you'll notice here that there's like a red number 2, or up here there's a red number, or here there's a number. That's kind of the cue for your child to say that, oh, there's either an assignment or something that's been posted, or your teacher has responded with some feedback for an assignment. So these kind of are visual cues for your children to know that they might need to go to a certain section, especially during a scheduled time, to go ahead and check on that. And this is what it looks like when they are submitting something. There's always like a little green add button, and then it takes the teachers and the students to a page where they can add a photo, make a video, like record themselves reading or creating something. They can make a drawing. So there's lots of ways that children can express themselves or document some of their great work. And teachers also can use this to record their lessons. Now, when we were in the remote learning period last spring and this fall, you guys were all using the Classroom app, parents, students, because you're all in the same physical location, right? So you're all using this one app. But what's different now is when kids are going to be at school, the teachers are going to keep using the Seesaw app. And we're going to take advantage of a feature of Seesaw that is the Seesaw Parent App. So we're not rolling it out yet. But one of the things we want to do with the Seesaw Parent App, if you guys give the parents a little bit of a window or a view into the classroom during the school day. And so I guess what I can do, let's see if this video is not too long. Oh yeah, it's only 2 minutes. Maybe I'll play the first part of it, but I want to give you a sense of the Seesaw Parent App. And you're also welcome to just download it on your phone or device if you'd like to kind of prepare for that. But eventually we hope to use that to share like a picture of something really cool that your kid did, or a group photo or a video, so that you have it on your own device at home while the kids are continuing to use Seesaw at school. So let's see if this will play. All right, let me try that again. Oops, there we go. All right, let's try this again.
Welcome to Seesaw. Seesaw is a portfolio that your student will use to showcase what they're learning and doing at school and share that with you, their family.
Can you guys hear everything okay? Awesome, okay, great.
They'll add photos, videos, drawings, voice recordings, notes, and much more to their learning journal. And you'll be able to see their amazing work right on your phone or computer whenever they post something new. Students love Seesaw because they're able to show what they know with lots of different tools and share their work with meaningful audiences, all while practicing those super important 21st century skills. Teachers love Seesaw because they're able to gain insights from all of their students, see student growth, and have all that classwork organized in one place. Parents love Seesaw because they can be closer to the classroom without being there every day and really understand how their student is doing. Teachers and parents are always in control of how student information is shared. Once you've connected to your child's account using the special invite code or link from your child's teacher, you can view all of their posted work. You'll only see your own child's work and messages that your teacher sends home. When something new is added, you'll get a notification. You can decide if you want notifications via email.
I'm going to stop there for now because I think once we actually roll this out, and we're going to give the teachers about a week or two to get back into the groove, we are going to, I'll send that video out to help everybody kind of get onboarded. Are there any questions about Seesaw so far? I do want to give you a challenge. I would like to challenge you to fire up Seesaw and look for the green add button And I'd love for all of you to just leave a message for Julia or Courtney. It can be like a 10-second or 20-second video. And after you take the video, you'll be taken to a screen with like some little pencils and drawings. Maybe just write a word or a little note on that video. But let's take just a minute to record a quick video and see if we can record the video and add a message. Take about 30 more seconds. Don't forget to click done to submit it so Julia can see it. Look for the green button every time. Well, hopefully this was a fun exercise. I want to be mindful of time, so I will carry on. But you're welcome to, put that on pause or hit the submit button, and it'll be a nice surprise for Julia. Are there any questions that came up while you were working on that? The designers of the app have made it pretty straightforward, luckily, and kid-friendly, and also preschool teacher-friendly, and just friendly for folks that maybe aren't quite as techy. So we're finding that it's quite an enjoyable app for both teachers and students. So I want to just touch briefly on safety and filters and monitoring. Even though kids, we really don't use YouTube at all, and kids are hopefully not Googling at this point. But just so that you know, across the entire school in our Google admin console, Google Safe Browsing is enabled for K-8. So even if, let's say, an 8th grader or an older student, 4th grader, was like Googling something while they're signed in with their school Google account, if they might Google something that maybe could potentially lead to something that's a little bit less appropriate for a child, they're only going to see the search results that are like basically 12 and under friendly. And so we have it like less strict for the older kids in 4th through 8th, and then pretty much shut down for the lower school kids. So we have it's called Safe Browsing. And then in the admin console, we have the most strict YouTube search. And I think we have it like super strict and almost shut off for the lower school kids. But we're thinking about it on a school level. We're using a program called Jamf to manage the devices. And I was going to talk a little bit about parental controls on these devices, but since we're bringing them back to school, don't need to worry about that. One less thing for you guys to stress on. And just know that we are managing these remotely and keeping them safe from all the things we can at this point technologically. All right, moving right along, home setup troubleshooting. I overheard somebody talking to their kid about an internet signal, and I want to kind of give you some tips and tricks for how you can optimize your internet, whether you're using your school devices or your personal devices. We'll talk about connecting printers to your iPad, or maybe with an iPhone. Maybe you've never printed with your iPhone, and computer issues or iPad issues and Zoom questions. So first things first, internet signal. So on a high level, the internet at your house comes in. This is the globe, this is the Wi-Fi, the internet, the wired internet, going to what's called a cable modem, which kind of receives the internet. And then normally you'll plug into another box, which is your Wi-Fi box. And it's technically a router. So this Wi-Fi box can do wireless connections that kind of go through the air that your computer picks up the frequencies, or it can be wired. So if you're finding that your internet signal, even for your own Zoom calls or for work, isn't quite as good as it could be, the first thing I'd suggest is to literally physically move closer to this box. If necessary, sometimes with your computers, it's good to plug in. But really just getting physically closer to these can be helpful. And as I've mentioned, I know we have a couple of return parents here, but you can power cycle your router, and there's some steps here, and I'll share this slide with you. But in a nutshell, all you really need to do is unplug the power cables from the back of your cable modem, which receives the internet into the house, and your Wi-Fi box. Unplug the power cables, wait like 30 to 60 seconds, and then plug things back in. It'll take a couple minutes to get started again, but that can do wonders if your internet is starting to get super deteriorated and just not as good as it should be. The other thing I've been suggesting, as we're all at home, or have been, although that's about to change, right? Wi-Fi boosters. I use the TP-Link brand, but these you kind of set up near your Wi-Fi router with like a phone app, or to plug it in with the cable to your wireless router. And then once it's set up, you can take it to different parts of your house, and it boosts the signal in places where maybe the wireless signal isn't quite reaching. Any questions on that, or any questions on, I guess, high-level internet stuff? If not, again, the other thing people have mentioned in some of our other calls is it's always good to maybe call your internet provider and just to kind of see what your speed is. Maybe you have the ability to upgrade. Maybe you've been paying for an internet signal that's a little bit less data, and you can actually upgrade sometimes even for the same price. The other thing is, if you've had the same wireless router, like I've had the same airport Apple router since like 2012, I think it's time for me to upgrade. So there's different ways to kind of optimize. And then for printing,
Hey, Tatiana, I'm
yeah.
sorry, I have one quick question, and
Sure.
it's probably maybe not as applicable to the iPads, and I'm sorry to go back to last night's, but so if we were to wire the connection, do the Chromebooks have an RJ45, or is there an adapter that we need?
That's a good question. I believe that there's an adapter. Thinking about that after our session, because to get the Ethernet cable, I think you need an adapter that goes to either Ethernet. I think it's a Thunderbolt. I'm gonna actually play with it today afterwards and let you know.
Okay.
You can't see it, but I'm holding a Chromebook. There we go.
Okay.
And so I'll look into that. Actually, I can email you guys and let you know what I figure out. But
okay.
That's definitely something that's worth a try. And we don't have a lot of those Thunderbolt to Ethernet adapters. I had one that I found, but I could definitely leave you an Ethernet cable up front. And if I could find one, if you guys wanted to, do you have Ethernet cables?
But if it's a Thunderbolt to Ethernet, that's good to know. So that's what the Chromebook would take.
Yeah, that's what it, and let me confirm that before you purchase it, and I'll just send you an email. But I'm pretty sure that's how you do it. And of course, a quick Google search would probably answer it for both of us.
Okay.
Great question. So for printing with iPads, just like with your iPhone or any iOS device, I put a link to how you do that in general at the bottom of this slide. And this has the full steps. I just took some screenshots. But if you have a printer, you want to make sure that your printer supports AirPrint. So you can go to this link below, or you can kind of, once I share this presentation, you can click this and see if your printer supports it. If it does, anything you want to print, you use that same share icon that you use in other places. It's the square with the arrow. And then when you click that, there's an option to print, and it should let you select your printer if it's compatible. So it might be worth, just for the fun of it, trying to print something from the iPad just to see, or if you've never printed from your iPhone, it might be worth a try. And here's like some examples that are showing you what that looks like. So you can view or cancel. But it's definitely worth a try. I also included some links to kind of like tips and tricks with iOS with Zoom, but I haven't been hearing about too many issues apart from taking the time to type in that Wildcat 77, really long word for a first grader. But hopefully everything else has been pretty smooth. So that's pretty much it, you guys. That's our orientation. Just to recap, we talked about what's changed and what's new. We talked about how kids can get to the distance learning site and the Zoom buttons for their teachers. We've logged into some apps, and the kids will get a couple more apps in Wheelhouse in the coming weeks. And then in terms of keeping kids safe, we talked about some of the things we're doing behind the scenes. And then for troubleshooting, we talked about Wi-Fi connections, printing. And one thing I forgot to mention, if the iPad's acting super funny and not doing what it's supposed to, just like any device, just powering it down and restarting it is sometimes like really the only answer. it could be other stuff, but that's usually what works most times. And then the other thing I might just suggest is with the iPads, I mean, they're only home for next couple of days, but devices in general, it's probably good to kind of take the devices away from about maybe 7 or 8 o'clock, just because you don't want to mess with circadian rhythms and the blue light that's on devices. And there are some apps, I don't know of too many for the iPad, but I'm sure they're out there that actually make the screen more orange over time, and it's connected with like your time zone. And that's something to look into. It's something we have on our Chromebooks and MacBooks, but it's just another way to help kind of, balance the use of devices and technology. So that's pretty much it. If anything does come up, even when we return in person, any questions, you can email techhelp@marinhorizon.org. And that's pretty much it. Since we're returning on Monday, don't forget when you come back to school with your iPads and your headphones, don't forget to bring back those chargers because we'll be keeping them in a mini cart in the classroom. And I invite you once again, if you have any questions, you're welcome to email us. But before we break, are there any questions from any of the parents on the call? And if not, I want to thank you for dropping in. Maybe before you go, if you can just unmute yourselves kind of one at a time and just share what your child's name is so that I can connect their faces to your faces when we come back.
Hello.
Hi.
Hi, I'm Jacko. My child, my son is Adrian Bautista.
Yes.
Yeah, I just want to thank you for the great job you guys are doing. I think the tech is really fantastic, really easy to use and really useful, unlike some of the apps that I've encountered before. So thank
Awesome.
you.
Thank you for that feedback and welcome to Marin Horizon.
Hi, Tatiana.
Yes.
This is Sönke, the daddy from Leonie.
Uh-huh.
Thank you for this orientation. Thank you very much. And actually, Leonie is doing very well. This is Tali, my wife.
Hi.
Hello. Hi.
Oh, wow, these are our dogs. I just want to say thank you to you and all the staff members. Leonie is doing very well on this iPad, better than I do. I'm not the Apple guy, but she
so
is
savvy.
for sure now. Thank you so much.
Oh, you're welcome. And thank you. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you know me. I'm Megan.
Yes. Hi, Megan.
Yeah.
Nice to see you.
My daughter's Eleanor. If you haven't put Eleanor and James together from last night and tonight, that's, and this is great. I just want to thank you. Particularly the Zoom links with the teacher faces. It's just brilliant.
It's something I discovered late one night. I was like, wait, you can actually just put a link so they have to tap and you don't have to train them how to use Zoom. I'm like, yes.
For me, it's sort of like magic. I'm just like, you are a magician and you made these things magic and they work. And it's very impressive to me. And
awesome.
I was impressed last year by how quickly the school was able to pivot, which I know is mostly you having to figure stuff out. And then the amount of work you must have done over the summer is tremendous. So thank you.
Well, thank you. And then did Eleanor, was she in Tiny Techies?
She was, yes.
I was the Tiny Techies teacher.
Oh, okay. Okay, yeah. She loved it.
That was so much fun. Well, nice to see you again, Megan, and I hope to meet you in person one day soon.
Absolutely. Sooner rather than later, we hope.
I know. And then Samantha, I don't know if you're on the call formally or not, if you want to kind of say hello, but if not, totally okay. And if not, well, thank you everybody for joining. I really appreciate everybody stopping by and joining. And again, I'm excited to see all your kids next week on campus, and I hope you have a wonderful weekend.